Okay, in this short little video, what I want to do today is introduce you to tweening, one of the most important concepts in using Flash. With that knowledge, you can do some really cool stuff, like the following. I'm pressing Control-Enter to play it. You can simulate somebody snowboarding. What you see there is called tweening. Now, to learn that, we have to first of all learn a few basics. So let's do that right now. Now, when you start and create a new Flash file, you usually go to File, New, and then always pick Action Script 2. That'll make a blank screen. So let's start off and we'll pick a circle, and we're just going to place it right here. Now when you do tweening to whatever you want to do, a person, an object, whatever, a thing, what you do is you draw whatever you need and then put your mouse down and draw like a big rectangle around it. Then you go to Modify, Convert to Symbol, and you make sure it says Movie Clip. And you can name it. We'll call this red ball, and you press OK. Now when you do that, it goes in the library. Great, so now it's a movie clip. And what you can do now, if you notice that it has that box around it, is you can move this. And there are two techniques. There's kind of an old-fashioned technique and a newer way. Let's take a look at the old-fashioned technique. Right there you see frame 1. And what I'm going to tell the computer is let's go to frame 30, and you press F6. And now let's move the circle to the other side. So in frame 1 it's going to be there. In frame 30 it's going to be there. Now we have to fill in the in-between part. That's where the word tweening comes from. So we'll put ourselves in between. Okay? And then you can right click and you click on Create Classic Tween. And what it does is it draws this arrow, and now we can scrub it. I put my finger on that little pink square above the numbers, and when I drag it, you can see that it's going back and forth. Alright? Now usually what you do after that is you save it. So you give it a name wherever you want to save it. Doesn't matter where you figure out a spot on your hard drive. Alright, and we'll just call this Tween. And to really play it, you press Control-Enter. Okay? Now, once you've done that, what's happened behind your back is the computer has made a second file. There it is right there. Tween.swf. And there it is going across. And what you've done is made a shockwave flash file. So that's the basic idea of tweening. Let's do it again with a slightly different technique. Alright, so we'll go to File, New, and we'll create a new action script file. Okay, this one we'll do it a slightly new way, and I'll use a rectangle this time. We'll draw it right there. Okay, like before, we'll grab it and we will make it a movie clip. Alright, it's already a movie clip right there. I'm just going to call it red box this time. This is the second tween technique. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to right click right on the shape and say Create Motion Tween. So what did it do? Well, up here it automatically put you around frame 25. Now what you do is just move it somewhere else. And it draws all these tiny boxes and it's made a tween. What's cool about this technique is that, okay, let's say you want to make it go in a kind of a curvy path. You bend that, and now it follows a curvy path. That's very cool. And that's the new style tweening technique. Now you might say, sir, what if I want to do some more in between it or somewhere else? You can put yourself right there, and at that spot you can press F6 and then have it bend a certain way, so now you can do some really crazy stuff. Alright, and that's called the new tweening technique. It's up to you which way you want to do it. I use a little bit of both. Now back to our original animation. How would you do something like this? Alright, well this actually involves two layers. So here's what you would do to start off. You would go to File, New, and you'd create a new action script file. And the first thing you would do is have like a background. So you would type in the word background. Alright, and then you would go to File, Import, and you can bring it to the stage or the library. I'm going to put it to the library. And what you would do, you'd have to go somewhere on your computer and find a picture that you want to use, some sort of background, whatever you want to use. So let me go to, this is my house actually, so it's not like on the computer network at school, but it's the same idea. You find something on your computer you want to use, and I'm going to click on here. Now what happens is I've taken a picture of our school. It's in the library. Now watch, I'm going to drag it onto the screen. It's huge though. It's too big. So you zoom out a little bit. Alright, and that'll give you a rough idea where it is. And you shrink it. So you click here and you squish it so that it fits on your screen. See that little white thing? You got to squish it so it gets to roughly that size. Okay? And now you can go back up to 100% to give you a better look at the screen, and then you can stretch it out a bit more if you have to. That's your background. Okay? Now, once you've got your background layer, I usually lock it so that you can't do anything else to it. Now you press this little thing called New Layer, and this is going to be your animation layer. Okay, so I'm going to call it Actions or whatever. And on that layer, you do whatever you want. You can draw a person, you can make a ball move across the screen. Let's just pretend I'm going to draw a person. Okay, so there's my person. Don't laugh. It's a simple example. And notice the person's in front of the screen. Then what you do is you grab the whole person and you convert it to a symbol, and we'll call it man, and you press OK. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my man down here on the corner. Alright, and then I'm going to go to about 25 and I'm going to press F6. Uh-oh, I lost my background scene. Well, here's what you got to do then. Go down here and press F5 and it reappears. Now go back up to 25 where you left off and move this man right here. Okay, now let's go to about 50. Press F6 again. Uh-oh, lost everything again. No problem. Go down here. Press F5. It reappears. Then you go back up there. And so now I want to move him. Where do I want to move him? I'll move him down here. Okay, so at 1, he's there. At 25, he's there. At 50, he's there. Alright, so what's left to do? Well, that's kind of like stop motion. You got to have it more smooth. So go in between here, right click, classic tween. Go in between here, right click, classic tween. And now he's moving. But there's other cool stuff that you can do. You might remember that that guy was flipping around. So how about in the middle of this one, we're going to do this thing. We got to press properties though. So all this stuff appears on the right hand side. And there's this rotation. And we'll do a clockwise, CW is clockwise, and then CCW is counterclockwise. We'll do this one. Now watch what happens. I'm scrubbing right now, right? He's going up to there, then he starts flipping around. Okay? So there's all kinds of neat things you can do. What else could you do? Right about here, you could click on him and stretch him so he goes bigger. Which is kind of weird, right? So he starts off small, he goes big, and then he starts flipping around. Other things you can do at the very end of the cycle right there, you could make him disappear. And watch what I'm going to do for that. He's clicked on. I'm going to press this thing called alpha, and notice alpha's on 0, and when it's on 100 he's dark. So I'm going to make him basically fade away. So hey, we got some good stuff going on here now. So watch. Start him off there. He goes big, he starts flipping around, then he fades away. Now every time you do something, you got to save it. So I'm going to go to Save As, okay? And this one I'm just going to call the man. All right, we're going to press Save, and then we're going to run it. And there he is, and he flips around and fades away. Now, once you get good at this, you can do all kinds of neat things. I'm not going to show you every one of these tricks, but here's one. This is a motion tween where you blow apart letters in a person's name. So it's all kinds of neat things. But the next idea that I'm going to show you now is called a shape tween, where you take one shape and you sort of morph it into another. Alright, so let's do a basic example like we always start off. So we'll go New, Action Script 2, and again we're going to start off with a particular shape. Now when you do shape tween, you don't have to convert it actually to what we call a symbol. And actually let me start off and fill this in with a color so it stands out a little bit better. So we'll pick a rectangle like I just showed you, or something simpler like that. Okay, now this is a shape. I'm not going to this time grab it all like that and try to convert it into a symbol. I'm going to leave it like that. Then I'm going to go to around 40. I'm going to press F6 like I did last time. Now watch what I do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click away from it for a second, and then I'm going to move my mouse really close to it until it turns into like a curvy little shape at the bottom. Then I'm going to put my finger down on the mouse and I'm going to push it in. Okay, so at 1 it's going to be like that, at 40 it's going to be like that, and I'm going to go in between and I'm going to right click and I'm going to do what's called a create a shape tween, and watch what it does. It sort of morphs into another shape right before your eyes. That's the basic idea of shape tweening. And then I always like to save. Okay, and I'll call this shape. And then I press Control Enter, and when you play it, it looks like that. The next idea I want to cover is called motion guides, and I've sort of given you an idea how to do it using that new technique of motion tweening. But here's the basic idea with motion guides. You draw some sort of path and you want your object to follow it. Okay, so there's that sort of ball going around the circle. Here's another example. This one's really cool. The cow jumps over the moon. Okay, this again is what we call a motion guide. You make something follow a path. So here's how you do it. This is a bit trickier, so you gotta be careful when we do it. First thing you do, let's have a layer where we're gonna have an object. And you can use a circle if you want. All right, we'll make sure we put a color to fill it in with, and we'll have a little ball like that. Okay, so that's the first step. The next thing you do is you can right click. There's several ways to do this, and this is called Add a Classic Motion Guide. We're going to click on it, and you know, look what it just did. It added above the layer of the ball this word guide layer. Okay, so we are now ready to perform our operations. Let's go back to layer 1, and what we'll do is we'll grab this and we will convert it to a symbol. Okay, and we can just call it green ball. Alright, so that's set. Now we go back up to the guide layer, and I'm going to use a little pen, and I'm just going to draw the path that I want this to follow. Next step, go back to the arrow, and I go back to layer 1. Now see that little circle in the middle? That's going to be really important. I'm going to grab that and I'm going to connect it to there. It's got to connect like a magnet. There it goes. Now I'm going to go to about 30. I'm going to press F6. Well, lost everything. Remember that the stuff I told you? You press F5. It comes back. Now I'm going to put myself back here, and I'm going to drag this down to the bottom, and I got to connect it like a magnet. There it goes. Okay, you see how it sticks to it? It's a bit tricky. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Then I'm going to go in between here, and I'm going to press Classic Tween. And if it works right, look how it's following the path. Now when you play it for real, it won't show up that green part. It'll just go like that. The last neat effect I want to show you is called masking. Now you won't see it when you scrub it. This is the only one where you have to actually play it or it won't show up. But you see how it's going over my name, and it's just showing you the piece of my name it goes over? Alright, so that's called masking. So let me show you how you do that. So let's go new, and we're going to make a new screen. And in this one, what I'm going to do first of all is type my name. Okay, so I used the T letter right there, and I wrote my name there, and I called that layer name. Now this one you have to actually physically then make a new layer and put it above the one that you just made. And this one I'm going to call it mask. You have to actually type in the word mask. Now that doesn't make the mask, but it sets you up to make the mask. So then what you do is you right click, and you're looking for the word mask. There it is. Now watch what happens. Now that's the boss, the mask, and your name is underneath. Now what you do is, it's sort of locked right now, so you have to unlock it, because what you're going to do on this layer is draw something that will represent the mask. Okay, I've drawn a circle that I'm going to create into a movie clip, like I always do. Alright, I'm not even going to name it this time. I'm just going to press OK. There is now what I call the mask. And I'm going to go to about 35. I'm going to press F6. There, lost everything. You press F5 and go back up. And I'm going to drag this across the screen. Okay? And then I'm going to go in between and do what's called a classic tween. And there is the mask effect. Now, how do you prove that it actually worked? Well, you press Control Enter, and there it is going across to give you that effect. And that's called masking.